Listen up. It's 9 p.m. now, so we're starting our new episode on the new Power Show. Welcome to you all. My name is Jagoda Krogulska. I am 28 years old. I'm a psychologist by education. All the time I am working in my profession, not as actively as right after graduation, due to the fact that I have been working with Nu Skin for 3 years, and this is where I put most of my time and energy. Because I believe that this is one of the few forms of work that gives us the opportunity, opens the door for us to realize our dreams. I would like to share with you the fact that a few days ago I received the keys to my first own apartment, which I bought thanks to the cooperation with this company. In today's episode, I would like to touch on two very important topics for me. First, I would like to introduce you to young people who are working in our company, working in network marketing. I hope that their stories will inspire you, especially young people, to be interested in working with us, with Nu Skin, and that their stories will show you what kind of developmental and earning opportunities this cooperation brings. And in addition to that, this is the first episode in which men will be featured, and I would like them to give you a male perspective on network marketing. Before I go on to introduce my guests, I'd like to remind you that the whole new Power Show initiative was created by Karolina Łapo-Rzeplińska. So if you are watching today's episode, or will be watching other episodes, and after getting to know us, after getting to know the new Power Show, you would like to work with this team, please make sure that the person who invited you today or sent you the material is working in the line of Karolina Łapo-Rzeplińska. And now we'll move on to introduce my guests today. We will start with the youngest participant, Ilona Aleksandrowicz. 24 years old, master degree in dietetics for over 2 years. She develops her business in 3 offices in the Lublin region. Another woman, Alicja Wegner. For over 8 years, she has been actively running a blog and consistently building her social media, through which she inspires women to change their lives for the better. And now the person who here, as far as guests are concerned, is the closest to me due to the fact that we cooperate very closely and regularly. Jakub Kasprzyk, 26 years old, architect. And Marcin Sawicki, 43, father of 3 children, graduate of the Warsaw University of Physical Education, a coach, an instructor, a teacher, an entrepreneur, today an advocate of remote working. If there are any questions that you would like us to answer, feel free to write them in the comments. At the end of the program, we will spend a few or several minutes together to answer questions. And if you feel that any question which was not necessarily directed to you will also concern you and you will want to say something about it, feel free and comfortable here. And Ilona, we'll start with you. Tell me why a master's degree in dietetics, which I'm sure is very busy, decides to build a second business in network marketing.
Właśnie głównie dlatego, że jest bardzo dużo zajęć i praca dietetyka jest...
This is mainly because there are a lot of activities. And the work of a dietitian is such that we bring a lot of work home, because in addition to consultation with the patient, we have to prepare individually for this consultation. And then we have nutritional therapy, generally a nutritional plan, which I also have to adapt individually to each patient, because of their health conditions, for example, or their goals. And I've always been fixated solely on the nutritionist, nothing else. However, there were already such comments that I simply lacked time during the day. Also, of course, when I got the first offer of cooperation with the company, I said not, because I was only about dietetics, and this is not related to my profession, so I will not make anything up here. However, it came to such a situation that I decided that I would just try it at the beginning, so I was very distanced to it. And I have been here a year already, and it's worth showing off here on this comfy couch that I am achieving success here. And thanks to this, I have the opportunity to develop this dietetic area. For example, I'm expanding my dietetic team. I already have an employee, which I would not even think about before, because to earn money for the employee and for the fees, and where is the time for me? I also like to help other people, just in terms of improving their health, well-being, physical and mental well-being, because I'm not that active anymore. But I'm also a fitness trainer, so the silhouette, I also take it from this angle. I also organize trips for women. For example, recently I organized an active weekend in the Lublin region for women, last year. So here in New Skin, I also like that I can help other people. I mainly work with women, but in dietetics I mainly help with health, whereas in New Skin I help improve life. With me, I can guide a person in such a way that they will have a much better income. So my main goal is to use New Skin so that when I'm 30, for example, when I want to start a family, I won't be working from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., as it sometimes happened, or until 11 p.m., but I'll have the time for my family and children, and everything will be created around it. And just that leverage and that passive income. Sure, great, thanks. Kuba, architect and online business. Tell us why you decided to build your second financial leg in network marketing. In fact, for quite a while in the beginning, yes, it started a year ago, there was a time where I had some first impulses about this company, what it looks like. For a while I was watching a person close to me who was also working with the company, working with you. And every now and then I would get some information, I would hear something. But I told myself, keep working, we'll see how it goes. And there came a time, or there was a conversation, where the topic of finances was raised, which for me then turned out to be of great importance when it comes to this topic and allowed me to become interested in it. Because in life I always assume that more means more, faster, better, more, which is really the opposite of my professional work, where I assume that less means more and here I stick to it. But in my life, since I consciously do my job or work in any way, I've been assuming that I should do as much as I can as long as I want to, and I have the strength for it, and I'm young and there's really time for it. So here, in fact, these finances, this topic of finances, which was raised, show me that I can start to realize my project, which I was bouncing around somewhere before, because it turned out that in order to realize some idea, I need 200,000 to 300,000 Polish zloty, where, let's agree, at the age at which we are, this is an unattainable amount, an amount that we can spend just like that. And it will succeed, or it will fail. That's not likely to be the case. Unless someone has exceptional situations, which probably happen, but these are exceptions. It does not apply to me. So that's why I became interested in this cooperation, because thanks to it, I started to develop professionally, create another financial leg, which in turn will allow me to develop further projects and ideas. And the second aspect is a full-time job, on which I can say loudly, I do not work anymore. This does not mean that I have finished working in my profession. Absolutely not. I started to work on my own. As much as I want, as much as I can. And at a time that allows me to do so, and at a time when I feel like it. And at the same time, I can develop my own projects or ideas. And I think it's great, because knowing young people and observing my acquaintances, friends or people with whom I worked, I see that somewhere there is already, I do not want to call it that aversion to the full-time job, but still it is very limiting, and the job requires a lot from us, that we have to do some things that we do not want to do. And when we want to do something, when we want to creatively approach a subject, in my case a project, we are very often limited. And thanks to the fact that I started my work, cooperation with other entities, but in fact on my own terms, I'm talking about professional work, I eliminated those limitations a little bit, because now I dictate the conditions and I set it all in my own time, in my own schedule, so that I can combine it with everything I want to do. And have you noticed at all that in the past a full-time job was such a total security, while now more and more people rely on B2B, and that it deals the cards and more people start businesses? A lot of people somewhere still adhere to the voice of the older generation, which was based on the assumption, work for a living, you have some money, ignore that you don't want to do that, etc. Do your job and it will be fine. That's life. I don't want to say that's life because that's not what life is about. We don't want to live from first to first. Don't lean too hard. Well, for me personally, when it comes to full-time, it's kind of scary how much time and work it takes to move up and earn just more than what's written in the contract at the beginning. This is where we go in years actually, 5, 10 years. And here, as we already know in our business, when it comes to pay rises, we can actually give ourselves such a pay rise every month. It all depends on our work.
Taką podwyżkę dawać. To wszystko zależy od naszej pracy.
Naszych chęci.
Alicja, teraz pytanie do ciebie. Myślę, że śmiało mogę...
Alicia, now a question for you. I think I can safely call you an influencer. You've been sitting on couches in different TV shows. I'm very curious, and I think our viewers are as well, especially those of the younger generation. What motivated you to work with this company?
Zmotywowało do współpracy z tą firmą.
Tak, ja akurat jestem osobą...
Yes, I am a person who has always known that a full-time job is not for her. I don't like anyone telling me what to do. I don't like any tasks imposed from above. And since I was a teenage girl, I was trying to figure out and look in the internet what to do to make my first money. And so now I'm 28 years old and I've been doing my social media and blogging for 8 years. So I actually started this blog when I was 20 years old, sitting around pregnant and thinking, what can I do? Okay, then I'll start writing for myself. And I've always done some photo blogging there, even many years before that. And it gave me great satisfaction for many years. I shared my story with people. It motivated at first hundreds, then thousands, then tens of thousands of women, which came totally naturally. I did not know that you can earn anything on a blog. With time, I began to look for other forms of income, to go a little beyond the framework of the blog or social media. I also started to organize development and relaxation workshops for women. All this was my main source of income. I have an established business and that's what it focuses on. But I kept feeling that something was missing and I didn't know what. That's where I was looking. And it was a workshop and it was something else. And I still couldn't say that I felt 100% fulfilled. I even had the impression that I was getting more and more burnt out every year. And I was looking for some other forms of cooperation. But in the end, I always told myself that I don't have time. I have already been building something here for 8 years, and now I have to suddenly build something from scratch? There is no such option at all. And to ruin what I've worked so hard for? Plus the baby, time, that is all the possible excuses. And I was watching at the same time people who were already operating here with new skin, and I didn't really see what it was all about. But it intrigued me. I knew that there was big money behind it too, and I always said that I would have big money, that I would get to it myself. I didn't know how, but I knew I would. And my dad always said that he wishes me that. And a year ago, there was this turning point in my personal life, which was a breakup, a relocation, motherhood on my own with my then 6-year-old daughter. And then I felt that maybe it was time to try something more in life. And I made an appointment. I said a specific amount of money, how much I wanted to earn, and I said that since I have nothing to lose, because it turned out that there are no obligations, no costs, that's what I think is important, then I'll give it a try. And it turned out that I could perfectly combine it with what I've been doing so far. Because if I'm running Instagram, and so I'm showing people things that whether I buy myself or advertise, why shouldn't I now introduce some new things? If I'm happy with them, of course. But the best thing in all this is that when I saw that after 2 months my earnings were the same as I had to work 2 to 3 years for while running my blog, and it was a blog, it wasn't a traditional business either, I said to myself, because I didn't know how to combine it, I thought to myself that I would show women how to make a business, how to create this financial independence for themselves. It was a time when women were sending me a ton of messages about their relationships, inspired by my story. And it became apparent that there are so many women who were dependent on their partners, who didn't have their money, who had committed to motherhood somewhere and could never even get work experience and were just dependent on them. And yet that financial independence is freedom. And freedom is the ability to decide for yourself, the opportunity. The choice is simple. and I found that it just meshes so beautifully. I can show the products as I have done so far, and at the same time, I can show these women, if I have built something like this for 2 months, I can show them how to do it. So that was my main goal, because I think that money is always a side effect, and it is primarily a tool, not an end in itself. An objective is valuable when it serves other people, and I decided that it will be again what I was doing before, helping other women.
Druga rzecz to było to, do czego dążę, żeby stworzyć samodzielne.
The other thing was that I was striving to create the best life I could for myself and my child. And when I saw this path and these perspectives, I said, this is the path I want to follow. And I want people to follow this path with me. And that's why I decided, and I'm here. I think I am growing really fast, and I want to show others that it is possible. And I also started from scratch. And someone might think, okay, but you had Instagram, you had a community.
Ale ty miałaś Instagram, miałaś społeczność. Owszem, ale ja już...
Yes, but I already treat it in such a way that I've been building something for 8 years. And I also started from scratch, from total basics. So if I was successful, why shouldn't other women be successful? And actually, I don't like to say I succeeded, I just did it. So why can't others?
Super, ten temat jakby motywacji w postaci dziecka jest mi...
Super. This topic of motivation in the form of a child is very, very close to me, and it's also one of my main motivations, which is kind of being able to, thanks to the cooperation with this company, create a vision for myself to raise my daughter the way I want to. The possibility of giving her the best education at the highest level, and I know that it does not end with the vision, but it becomes reality. And that is something really beautiful.
I to jest coś naprawdę pięknego. Marcin, teraz...
Marcin, now a question for you. A mature man is setting aside the traditional business and going online. Tell us why.
Dlaczego?
Why? Listen, I feel like I've always been a subversive. I've always somehow fallen out of step with the stereotypes. I never went along with the whole stream that went to work. Everybody went to a certain type of university. I went to a different one. Everybody was going to a certain kind of work. I totally didn't want to do what everybody else was doing. And that's how I think I ended up here. I was always looking for other things, and what I do now, I love doing. That's the truth of it. I love to teach. I love to show some sports-related advice. But like you said, with the kids, I have 3 kids, and the truth is that sports-related activities are here and now. But whether they will be in 10 years, I have no idea. Whereas marketing, soft marketing, network marketing, no matter how we talk about it, can result in us having a very good financial backup in those 10 years. Very good financial backup, and it turns out network marketing is a new profession in Poland. There are universities, maybe not in Poland, which educate in this field. And I decided to look into it. It turned out that my wife was initially involved with Nu Skin, and I quickly took over and saw the figures that appeared on certain charts there. I analysed it and decided that this is such a trend, such a thing that needs to be taken care of, because if I don't take care of it now, in 10-15 years, it will be too late. This will be handled by someone else. It will be handled by someone else, yeah. Even more so, the events of the last year and a half, the pandemic, caused more people to look online, more people to look for solutions related to remote work, online work. So it was even more the reason why I decided to look into it, take care of it and get more involved, because I saw a future in it. A future for myself and a future for my family with 3 children. So I think it's worth looking at it this time, that in the future it's a huge developmental topic. Because, you know, a full-time job is a full-time job. It's always a reproductive job. And the truth is that reproductive work is always less paid than creative work. So this is the direction in which I've always been going. I will always be going, and I will always encourage people to go in this direction. We are looking for something new, not duplicating patterns that already exist.
Ten ostatni rok też pokazał, jak to wszystko jest spięte i stworzone przez tysiące
And this
osób.
last year also showed how it's all bundled up and created by thousands of people, this plan. Maybe thousands, I exaggerated, but hundreds. And it wasn't a threat what happened. Just as I said, I joined a year ago and I didn't even feel the situation which happened on the Polish market. And not only on the Polish market, but on the global market. So this proves that the company is transparent and that everyone was satisfied, that no one lost here. We had this security.
Że dużo osób nawet więcej zyskało.
You can even say that a lot of people have even gained more because our business has grown a lot. See, the truth is that full-timers who had stable jobs, so it seemed that once everything was stable, nothing could happen, and suddenly the boom came and shook the market completely. People had to change their jobs all of a sudden. I can't imagine that at the age of 43 I would lose my job and suddenly have to start something from scratch, completely from scratch, and move to another job. But here, I have a backup. We function calmly, we operate. And the truth is that the only thing stable is the fact that you have to pay taxes. You do not know what will happen in a year, in 2, in 10. And new skin will always be here. Exactly. In my case, I also somewhere subconsciously made this decision because of the pandemic. Well, because after the first wave, I only became interested in the subject and it appeared in my life. Probably I didn't give it as an example because it happened somewhere in there. But I also don't know what would have happened if this pandemic hadn't happened. Would it have been such a strong conviction that I wanted to do it, or a little weaker? I won't know because it's already happened, but I think somewhere in there it definitely had an impact. Well, yes, that time opened people's eyes, a lot of people's eyes, and somewhere it just pushed them to be interested in other topics. And as for you, well, I'm very close to each of your stories when it comes to motivation. And I can add here, from the psychologist's side, that at least I have such an attitude to my work that I would not like to do my profession out of the need to make money. It's like it's completely incompatible with each other. A psychologist is a mission. It is a desire to help other people. I can't imagine adding another patient every day who I simply don't have the strength for, just because I have to pay a loan, pay for my apartment, and have money for my children. And that's why when it comes to new skin, I treat it as an opportunity to gather enough capital for me to freely develop myself in psychology, because it's also years of practice, experience, investing in my development. And these are very large sums of money, and at the same time, to have enough money for my needs and my family's dreams.
A zauważyłaś, Jagoda, tak jeszcze wejdę tutaj w słowo.
And did you notice, Jagoda, that psychologists in general, nutritionists as well, if you have a passion, you can go 100% in it? But nobody thinks about that apart from the fact that we have to give of ourselves. We also have to find the client. That's the fact. I, for example, already work mainly on recommendation. I have patients, but I notice that our industries are closed to something else. And in fact, I have trusted, and because of that, I can shoot my way to the top. So I think it's worth mentioning here for young people who still have energy and can squeeze that life out, that they can create for themselves here, as Jakub beautifully said, a second financial leg. Exactly. Second one and another one. Exactly. Because some people say, oh, because you do several things. Yet real businessmen are the ones who have 8 projects and they don't drive in only one direction. I am also an enthusiast of doing several things at the same time. And this is for the development, to improve all the time, to expand your knowledge in different areas, in different subjects. I don't understand why it is accepted that if you decide to work in a particular profession, you have to work in it all your life. That's right. Maybe because it used to be that way. People worked for 40 years at one company. You started working, and at retirement age you retired, and everybody applauded you and thanked you very much. Terrible. And now the most important thing is to do it wisely. That is to delegate these duties. I have learned this very well during this year, that despite the fact that, I will surely mention it here, that I hired this person who does things in the field of dietetics that I did not like, and because of that, not only do I feel better mentally, but I'm able to do even more. It's just that a lot of people don't think so entrepreneurially and so task-oriented. It's just what's happening here and now. People don't think entrepreneurially because they aren't taught to do that. Exactly. They don't know there are these opportunities. The truth is, it's not that they don't want to, they just don't know there are opportunities. And that's why we're here for. Exactly. Our new Power Show channel. So now maybe let's talk about whether you think network marketing is attractive to young people. Or is it associated with some kind of fear, some kind of embarrassment, shame? And that's a question for you, Kuba. Exactly what we just said. The lack of knowledge really about a subject sometimes can generate this anxiety and fear of the unknown. And maybe I didn't have anxiety or fear, but somewhere I had this unknown. I didn't really see what network marketing is about now, that it's work on the internet, that it is using what we do every day anyway, That is, browsing, scrolling the internet, recommending places, products, sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously, and we don't really get anything out of it. We have cool content on Instagram and it's great, but we still have to make a living from something. And in the past, though, somewhere, this network marketing looked completely different. It was more local, which makes me think that this opinion about this model of work is somewhere distorted and not necessarily good, so I'll call it. Because often it was just about pushing. It was about soliciting somebody. Sometimes it was just desperation that resulted from the fact that it didn't work out.
Też przynajmniej takie jest moje doświadczenie, że temu towarzyszył nie najlepszy.
Often, unfortunately, at least in my experience, this was not accompanied by the best product. But here we have a premium company, and I think that's what we win above all.
To się w ogóle nie musimy martwić, tak? Bo wiemy, że mamy produkty innowacyjne.
We don't have to worry about that at all, because we know that we have innovative products.
Czyli nie ma takich innych, kolejnych produktów na świecie.
Most of them are patented, so there are no other products in the world that we are not working on. And I think this is a great activity for young people, because we have innovation, we have the use of social media, the internet, which is what I said before, and this is how we do it. So let's do it in a smart way. Let's use these activities and let's make money from it. That's why I think it's great for young people.
Ale wiedziałeś w ogóle, co to jest network marketing?
But did you even know what network marketing was? Were you able to explain it at the beginning? Because I, for example, very often when it comes to the youngest generation, I find that people are not at all aware of what network marketing is.
Słyszą MLM, bo to jest w ogóle MLM, to jest cały system, tak?
They hear MLM because MLM is a whole system that many companies work in. But when they hear MLM, they don't want to hear about it. Well, okay, and do you know what that means? And so they can't really explain it.
No ale młode osoby często.
But my friend knows, it's very common. But young people often, they're so young that they haven't had a chance to hear yet. And for example, I had a chance to hear, but more these opinions coming from these local activities and rather negative. And that's probably what I associated it with. So, like I said, I didn't know what it looks like now. And it looks completely different.
Osoby chcą dołączyć do współpracy i
For example, I have a lot of such conversations where people want to join the cooperation and they come up on their own with a desire to talk and get to know the company. And because of our social media activities, because of the tools we use, they don't realize that this is network marketing at all. They think they're just coming to a company where they're going to be hired and they're going to work with us. So I think it's also a perfect advertisement that we're doing it completely different than the old model. Let's call it that.
Wygląda to dobrze, w końcu wygląda to dobrze, tak? A nie tak jak ludzie.
It looks good. It finally looks good. Finally. And not the way people associate it. I always smile and say that if it was the way it used to be, I definitely wouldn't be in this place. And I have one name, so I wouldn't want to jeopardize my name.
Publicznego I w życiu bym nie.
Speaking of that name, I am in the profession of public trust and I would never allow myself to cooperate with a company or people that would generate any damage to my name. And here the fact that this is a company listed on the New York Stock Exchange, and we have this innovation, and most of all seeing the people we work with here, whom I got to know from the very beginning, I kind of knew that this is not some lame product wrapped in pretty paper, and let it happen. Tell people what we tell you and make money on it. But all this is actually the truth, and there is no question of any lie or fraud, because the company is so transparent that certainly the company would not allow it, nor in general the fact that it is on the New York Stock Exchange.
Właśnie na giełdzie nowojorskiej.
Mi bardzo zaimponowało to, że praktycznie każdy produkt, nie praktycznie, tylko każdy produkt ma
I
potwierdzenie.
was very impressed by the fact that every product has scientific proof. There are clinical studies. So I, as a nutritionist, value such approach. So when a person who introduced me told me about this, I got interested because I mainly look at clinical trials. For all diets, I verify everything. So it was for me the moment that I really started to get interested.
na pewno jest też mocny wyróżnik.
Yes, that's certainly a strong differentiator for our company as well, in terms of other companies that work in that model. Let's stay with you. You're a representative of Generation Z, and this is a generation that was already born in the internet age, in the cell phone age. Tell us why you think young people your age, your peers should be interested in this model.
Dlaczego uważasz, że młodzi ludzie w twoim wieku, twoi rówieśnicy właśnie powinni tym modelem się zainteresować?
Wspomnę jeszcze raz to, co Jakub
I'll mention again what Jakub said. I'll emphasize the fact that we're in this social media anyway. We're browsing, we're scrolling, so we can just take advantage of it. The intuitiveness of navigating these media and generally on the phone, laptop, using the tools, well, here older people who didn't get into it right away, it was certainly harder for them to get to know it all, or to put up any kind of report, to write a message. This is cognition. But they made it through, overcoming their prejudices and fears. And that's right, exactly. They had to learn it. We, on the other hand, are in this situation, in a better position that we no longer have to learn. We just have it intuitively. Most young people are comfortable using these media to show their lifestyle. That is, for example, that they are going somewhere, traveling. It's natural now. Everyone is doing it.
Swojego lifestyle'u, tak? Czyli na przykład, że jadą gdzieś, podróżują.
Yes, they're in a restaurant, they tag the restaurant. And does the restaurant give them something for tagging the restaurant or on a recommended meal basis? No. And here we go with this reverse marketing and just these recommendations. Because after all, any person can confirm to me for sure, any person that's sitting here is not showing something that they haven't tested, that they're not sure about. Like we said, we have the name, so that's the key. And a lot of people want to work from anywhere in the world. That's what they say now. And that's what this pandemic has shown. And for example, I have friends who work remotely. And for example, recently they took a whole team abroad to some country and they worked remotely with a whole team from their company. They actually work in a corporation. But the point is that people are looking for this. They don't want to sit from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the office. They just want to go for a coffee at 11 a.m., for example, or have breakfast and talk. So I think this is very beneficial. And also now a lot of people want to create something of their own. I don't know if you have noticed that there is such a trend that I will create a product here. Only before we create this product, we need to get grants. And how many requirements do we have to meet? We need to check it. We need to write the report. So it's a very long time. And also the idea and innovativeness.
Nie wiem, czy zauważycie, że jest taki trend, że tutaj jest...
And here, we don't waste time creating this product. We just have it already. And also passive income is very fashionable now.
Czyków spełnić, sprawdzić to.
Look how many ebooks are created, online courses, which I've actually talked to many people, and it's like they put the same thing practically every 2 years because people don't remember what happened 2 years ago.
Też jest bardzo modny teraz dochód.
So they don't even change the content. When I heard that recently, I was shocked. But the company is bundling it, so I think it's also that when we work, we'll use that time 100%. Let's say I gave myself 6 months, that maximum 6 months, then all the time we have this passive income, if we are active. Because it's also worth saying out loud that if we don't work in the future, we won't have any money, so we always have to be active. But the activity of opening a laptop, verifying, checking, that's not in 20 years going to work for 8 hours, so that's also very important. And people are just looking for that. So I'll also emphasize that we're not working for anybody here now, we're working for everybody here, for ourselves. And for example, Jagoda, how much are you exactly? 3 years. And I, for example, after 1 year, I'm able to earn much more than Jagoda after 3 years. So I think that everybody here takes care of their own business and nobody is dependent on anybody. However, I also make commission-based payments for my services, so it will never happen that I will earn much more from the employer who lends me the office. So I think these are very important things. And if you have this feeling in your gut, it is worth listening to it. And I think already these first steps after 3 months, you can really already see this income already after 3 months. Time will pass anyway, and whether 3 months, now it's vacation, so after 3 months, whether someone will just relax or suddenly wake up and, oh, I earned myself for 3 months so much, it's for real. But these are people who want to, because here you have to work. Here you have to hold a job, and these incomes are always going up. There's no option that something goes down. They just go up.
Zawsze rosną. Nie ma opcji, że coś spadnie, nie?
Tak,
Tylko
ale
idą do
dzięki temu
góry.
Wiesz, że możesz to wykonywać tak naprawdę w elastycznych godzinach.
And you can actually do it with flexible hours. You set that work mode for yourself. Let's call it that. This is a great option to not give up what I have here and now, which means no one will say to a new person in our business, now quit all your jobs and come to us, to New Skin 100%. I'm such an example because I grew New Skin for a very long time while working 3 other jobs. So it can be combined in a very nice way. And the moment you feel that you start earning more here than there, and that you want to devote more time here than in other jobs, you just decide for yourself when you want to disconnect from which job. And that is also great.
Więcej czasu właśnie tutaj poświęcić niż w innych pracach, to po prostu sobie sama decydujesz, kiedy chcesz odłączyć się od jakiej pracy, tak?
Yes, and so that's what I want to say at the end of the day, is that you don't have to give up your studies and you don't have to give up your profession that you're fulfilled in. Because here we are, like the three of us, for example, where we thrive in these industries of ours, where we've dedicated 5 years minimum of study. And here we're doing something that's going to give us a very high level of security. And I'm not going to worry in the future about whether I'm going to have that pension or not have that pension. It's just going to be that security. Exactly.
Możemy podyskutować.
Teraz
That's all from me, unless anyone has anything else to add. Now to our viewers. Listen, write in the comments how old you are, because we are very curious about the age of people watching us today and whether there is a predominance of the younger generation. And do you remember the times without phones, without smartphones and the internet? Of course, if you have any questions for our guests, for us, and you would like to get answers from us, write it in the comments. At the end of the episode, as I said at the beginning, we will give you the answers together.
I teraz Alicja, pytanie do ciebie.
And now, Alicja, a question for you. I think you will agree that a lot of women, especially young women, would like to become influencers. A lot of young people are talking about working by becoming YouTubers, starting their own blogs. In my opinion, our work can have a lot to do with being an influencer. What is your opinion about it? I agree. I think that being an influencer and working here have a lot in common. First of all, both jobs are about building relationships. Being an influencer is about building a community, an engaged community. And here it's also about building relationships, both with clients and business partners. The only difference is that being an influencer, if we don't have any physical products or even electronic products, I have also my ebook. If we don't have our website or something else besides advertising campaigns, it's just living in the here and now without really a stable future. Advertising campaigns come and go. Once they are there, once they are not. And here we build something permanent, something stable. And of course it is comfortable.
Czy nawet produktów elektronicznych, ja też mam swój e-book. Jeśli nie mamy swojej strony internetowej.
I also enjoyed running Instagram, relying on those advertising campaigns. But I began to wonder, what about my future? Do I want to work in this model all my life? Well, no. And it's also important to emphasize that if we're being watched by people who tie their plans to Instagram somewhere, Instagram is not ours. We have accounts on Instagram, but it will never be ours. It may cease to exist. It may change its terms of use. And increasingly, I'm also seeing accounts being wrongfully deleted and very hard to get back. And then what if we were just relying on these ad campaigns that's gone overnight? And then all of a sudden, what am I supposed to do if I haven't built anything else in that time?
I uważam, że tutaj budujemy coś stałego, stabilnego i włożymy.
And I think that here we are building something permanent, stable, and we put our effort and energy into it to build it for many years. But then it becomes our passive income, which you mentioned, Ilona. And without such strong interference, this income will be generated still. Of course, you have to work for it for some years, but then actually those revenues are there. And influencers often don't see the bigger picture because it's convenient. We have an advertising campaign, we have a proposal, we take pictures, we make material, we get paid here and now. And here, however, well, it looks a little bit different. To see the effects, you have to wait a while. You have to put in your time and your commitment first, and the results come later. Young people often don't want to wait, and they, not all, but many people do not look forward to the future. Money is important here and now for a one-time action. I think that especially if someone has Instagram and is building it, then they should think about putting those two things together. Because it can be done all the time. No one has to give it up. The same thing can be done all the time. At the same time, people can already build for themselves a stable business and a stable income here. At the point where people think they are burnt out a little bit, like I did in terms of advertising campaigns, they already really got something built here. So I would make the most of it, and it is worth looking at it in such a way that sometimes we may have to wait for something, but the effect is then 10 times better.
Efekt jest wtedy 10-krotnie lepszy.
Super, dzięki. Dostałam w ogóle, słuchajcie, informację, że...
Great, thanks for that. I got a heads up that we actually have very little time left, so somewhere in there we're going to have to cut these questions short to still answer questions from the audience, bring up the male perspective. But it just shows that we're finding each other well on these couches and we're having a great conversation. I'm very pleased.
Pytanie właśnie do ciebie, bo wiem, że pracujesz...
Marcin, just a question for you now, because I know you work mostly with young people, and I wonder if they know our business model well enough, and if they realize that it is the answer to their needs today. That is, the very freedom that they are looking for in a job, for those flexible working hours, remote working. What does that look like in your opinion?
Godziny pracy, pracę zdalną. Jak to wygląda twoim zdaniem?
Ja mam wrażenie, że tak już ustaliliśmy.
My impression is that this is how we have established that they are not familiar with this working model. They've heard there was some buzz somewhere, but they don't really know the details. So if we lean into this work model, this is the answer to those needs. This is the answer to freedom, to work with who I want, to work how I want, when I want. And above all, what every young person expects, to have their own business. Everybody wants to be a businessman and have their business, or an influencer, or whatever, whoever. Everyone wants to have their own business. But let's remember that in order to create your own traditional business, you need to have a lot of money to invest, to create something. Young people don't have this money most often, unless they get it from their parents or grandparents or someone else to create something. But they are not sure that what they create will work. But here, we get a ready-made concept and we run it how we want, when we want. And we know that it works. And we know that it works, because it's not like a company showed up a year ago and suddenly says, "Hello, good morning. Hello, I have great products and I invite you all." It's just a company that has been around for 36 years. It really is a huge professional company. So that's the answer, what you were asking.
Warto powiedzieć, że jest
Wziąć-
wiele firm krzak.
Tak,
więc
wziąć,
trzeba
zrobić,
zweryfikować.
But it's also worth saying that there are a lot of bogus companies out there. Take it, make it, learn it, and we have a concept ready. We're free. We do it how we want. We don't have stereotypes. We don't have our parents work for 8 hours, for 12 hours, or in corporations for 16 hours. And after these 10 years in corporations, we are burnt out. So what if we've earned? So what if we're burnt out? And who's going to give us the opportunity to work in such a way that in 1 year you earned X, and in 5 years you'll earn 10 times X? Well, there is no such opportunity in this traditional work model. You can earn twice X, maybe if you succeed with bonuses 3 times X. And here you can have 20 times X, 30 times X. It all depends on you and what mindset you have in your head. That's my answer to the question.
Stworzenie własnego biznesu, tak? Czyli tak jak zauważamy...
Yes, and I think you answered right away the question of whether New Skin is an alternative to creating your own business. That is, as we see, a lot of young people after graduation want to create something of their own, but it involves capital, which needs to be brought in, and often we don't have that. Everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, a business owner. Exactly. Business women.
Że to jest naprawdę bardzo ciężki kawałek chleba mieć własną.
Unfortunately, not many people know that it is a very hard piece of bread to have your own business. I had my own company and nobody told me how to run it exactly, so some mistakes were made. And here we know how to do it.
Oczywiście każdy z nas, myślę, że ma takie...
Yes, this is the place where we know, we have everything prepared. And this is where really everyone, I think, has the sense of how they work with this company, that they're running their own business in general.
Nie mamy też tak naprawdę żadnych strat. Często, jeżeli chodzi o stworzenie własnego biznesu, musimy się liczyć z tym, że może nam to nie wyjść i...
Często ta inwestycja jest...
Exactly. But at the same time, we don't have any startup investment. We don't need to have. We also don't really have any losses. Often, when it comes to creating your own business, we have to face the fact that it may not work out for us. Often, that investment is a loss, precisely.
Nie ma pewności w
I
ogóle.
uważam, że to jest w ogóle świetna
You can invest X amount of money, your parents put down there, and within a year you can lose it, within 6 months. The pandemic wiped out a lot of different companies, restaurants, for example, or other businesses. And people thought it was always going to be there. Now it turns out there's no certainty at all.
gdzie ktoś nad nim jest i mówi, jak...
And I think it's a great option for young people to find out if they really want to run their own business, because everyone wants to. But it turns out that not everyone can also find themselves in this to work for themselves and be a one-person company. And yet some people are more comfortable with this work, where someone is above them and tells them how to do it. Listen, I think we're going to get to the questions now because we're running out of time, and we'll see what questions, if there were any questions at all, and if we just got questions from the audience.
Było ciszę, oczywiście mam coś do powiedzenia, ale
In the meantime, I have something more to say. I think that young people don't realize the cost of running their own business. I knew that you have to pay for an employee. I was aware of that. But when I saw the numbers, it scared me a bit. And I was so relieved that I have New Skin and I can take it easy. But here is the plus, that when we start cooperation with someone, we do not pay taxes, social security for this person with whom we cooperate. As for our co-worker, so this also needs to be said loudly.
Osobę, z którą współpracujemy, tak jak za naszego współpracownika. Więc to też głośno trzeba o tym
Słuchajcie,
powiedzieć.
więcej pytań jest odnośnie perspektywy męskiej.
Listen, there are more questions about the male perspective in our business, so let's touch on that topic first. We've been waiting for it. There will be questions later. So, Kuba, why do you think this industry and this model is a business that men should pay attention to? A lot of things are actually already what I said before, but I think guys have this very entrepreneurial approach to life, to their actions. They have a simple goal, a simple path to that goal. They don't look somewhere off the side. They don't grind. You know? Sorry, ladies. Women can get very emotional, you're right. Well, it varies. Well, that's the truth. Sorry, but that's the way it is. And that's why I think it's a perfect job for men. Because somewhere there's such a hard striving for a goal will help us give very quick results here. And very quickly we can achieve our great goals. And this is also confirmed by statistics. And what we know, what are the data about the people who achieve fine results in this model of work? Because in most cases, these are men who become millionaires because of the fact that they worked in this model of work. And to me, that's super encouraging.
Powiedzieć od siebie, że uwielbiam pracę z kobietami, ale jednak...
I mean, I must admit that I love working with women, but working with a man, here with Jakub, is a completely different job. Specific, quick to the point, without any emotional interjections, so to speak. I would like as many men as possible to get interested in this business and this model and start cooperating with us.
Chciałabym, żeby jak najwięcej panów tym biznesem, tym modelem się w ogóle zainteresowało i zaczęło wchodzić we współpracę z nami.
Marcin, and what is your male perspective?
Słuchajcie, no wiele argumentów tu już przytoczyliśmy, ale...
Look, a lot of reasons have already been made here, but I don't know if you know, but the forerunners in the world in general of the network marketing industry, MLM, are men. The biggest of those leaders, you can check yourself online, Eric Woe or Brian Tracy. You can listen to their books, you can find them in MPeak, or you can listen to them as ebooks. These are the people who have created the whole network marketing MLM. These are men. The second thing is that the same thing is happening in our company. Nathan Ricks or Ken Tony Worthington, who will of course be in Poland in October at our event, or Janos Koran from Hungary, or the whole of Scandinavia, the whole of England. These are men. These are the men who are doing this business in this beauty industry. But men who are very successful. So I decided that if they succeeded, if they did it, then why can't we do it in Poland? Since all of Europe has men as leaders, millionaires, let's not hide these amounts. We can do the same here in Poland.
Naszych widzów, czy spotkałeś się
And a question from our viewers. Have you faced any hate because of the fact that you work in a predominantly female industry?
Absolutnie. Ja wiem, że...
Absolutely. I know how many times this question has been asked, but personally I generally haven't encountered any hate. Maybe misunderstanding. The question was, why? I say, why? I've already told you why. Because best product, best company, great system, what we already agreed here. Fine system, and we really have nothing to be ashamed of. If I had something to be ashamed of, genuinely, to sell some fake watches, something like that, I wouldn't do it in my life. I'm 43, I have 3 kids, so we're talking about serious matters. Because this is a profession. This is a serious business, not some kind of pushing something to people. And the other thing is that from the point of view of men, girls look at this company by the product, which is the products that we use. And we men should, and we look at the product, which is the business itself. That's the model itself. And I look at it that way. I offer people specific solutions, like you said. We help people. We help. We don't tell them, buy this, do this. But I can show you the possibilities to change your life, and I do that.
Dokładnie.
A wiadomo, cały system...
Exactly. I show them the opportunity, and I treat that as a product. Exactly. And you know the system itself, the whole MLM, is about recommendation. Yes, it's a recommendation, which means if something suits me, then I offer it to other people. And in a good work system, what does the industry really matter? Well, an industry is an industry. Here we are dealing with a premium product, about which we do not have to worry about at all, because it defends itself. What matters here is the model of our work, the quality of our work, and the effects we achieve. And we do not have to worry about the product because it is the best product, and the awards the company receives for its products prove it. But products, after all, are used by men too. It's not just us women. But no men will tell you that they use them. Everyone uses, but no one will tell you they do it. Not me, absolutely. And really, I have a bunch of clients who are men and really do use the products. That's right, a man is just checking the job in general, and that's all. On the other hand, as Kuba said, we are very concrete. We just act. I think we should get one more episode for ourselves because I can already hear here that we have to finish, and I think we could still cover a lot of topics. Quick question for you, Kuba, from the audience, and there has to be a quick response. Do you recruit more men or women into the business?
Do biznesu.
Wiecie co, ja się w ogóle nie skupiam na
You
tym.
know, I don't focus at all on whether it is a man or a woman. I just want to work with enterprising people who have a good idea for themselves, for life, and are not afraid of new challenges, novelties, and want to work. Because if someone does not want to work, well, sorry, but you will not work with me.
Sorry, ale
Dokładnie.
ze mną nie będziesz pracował.
That's great. Listen, thank you so much. I can't hide the fact that there was a lot of stress at the beginning because it was my first experience. But since the questions came up, at least for me, it was really nice and relaxed. And now I completely forgot that there are cameras around us.
Mi przynajmniej było naprawdę bardzo miło, luźno, a teraz to w ogóle zapomniałam, że są kamery dookoła nas.
A są kamery?
And there are cameras? There are. And it's a live show. I hope that your perspective, your stories will inspire young people, but not only young people, to become interested in our company, in working with us.
Nie tylko
Tak,
mody,
dokładnie.
dokładnie, do tego, żeby...
And I would like to remind you once again that if you like the new Power Show initiative and want to work with the people you can meet here on the couches, make sure that the person who invites you is in Karolina Łapo-Rzeplińska line. Thank you very much. It was very, very nice to have you here on these couches, and I'm glad that it was the first time we were here together. I was also very pleased. It passed quickly. Warm. Exactly. And also, as far as next Sunday's episode is concerned, I cordially invite you. It will be hosted by a great woman, speaker, trainer, whom I personally really like very much. I learn a lot from her. I have such a pleasure, Dominika Matczak. And the topic will be, very often we hear, I'm not suitable for this, I'm not like you.
Porównuję właśnie, że nie jestem influencerką, więc mi na przykład nie wyjdzie.
Even you, Alicia, said here that a lot of people compare themselves, that I'm not an influencer, so I won't succeed in this business. Definitely. Dominika will talk to women who have left their complexes behind, who have stepped out of their comfort zone and started working with us, even though at first they thought they weren't up to it. And I wish you a nice week.
Hooked on you, baby, you're golden. Time moves, I never noticed, just can't get enough. Got me wonderstruck. Hooked on you, baby, you're golden. Time moves, I never noticed, just can't get enough. Got me wonderstruck. I knew the second I met you, I was doomed to never forget you. Just one single touch, got me wonderstruck.